Hello and welcome to James Hill Sports. I am he. We are joined by a special guest. He is a gentleman you know from the highest of seven hills. You see him on Saturdays coaching up young men as a leader of young men. He is the head football coach of the Florida A&M University Rattlers. Coach Willie Simmons, first and foremost, I hope you and your family and the Famu and everybody in Tallahassee are well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, James. Got back from Orlando and excited about the win. And I think everyone is slowly making their way back from Orlando, but hope everyone gets back safe. But we're riding high right now.
And speaking of Orlando, you look at Camping World Stadium, you look at the Florida Blue Florida Classic, the latest installment, a three-peat, if you will. The final score is Rattlers 24, BCU Wildcats 7. Take us back into that particular contest, and what are your takeaways when you think about the latest installment of the Florida Classic?
Well, obviously, the Florida Classic is always the biggest game of the year, regardless of the records of both teams coming into the game, standings, all those things thrown out the window. It's a game that Rattlers wait on for a year, Wildcats wait on for a year. The bragging rights on the line. The luncheon on Fridays is very festive. Dr. Robinson really brought the roof off, took the roof off this Friday. Coming in with his boxing robe on, his championship belt. So just all the pageantry surrounding the game, the battle of the bands, you name it. It's just a great event, and we wanted to do our part. Obviously, come in and play a solid football game. We knew that it had no bearing on anything moving forward. But we still wanted to play good football and come out with the victory. And the guys were able to do that. Put those guys away. Then play our best game, and then obviously some things we got to work on before the championship. But all in all, pleased with the win and excited to get back and start preparing for Prairie View in the Swac championship game.
The first quarter, you guys go to work, so to speak, and you put 7 on the board. Talk a little bit about that, establishing the run and what that looks like.
Well, in games like this, classic games, you really want to limit turnovers. You want to limit opportunities for the other team to maybe gain some momentum. And so we really wanted to come in and establish the run. I thought we were able to do so. I think we finished the game with 175 yards rushing, which is well over our season average. But I thought the guys did a good job. And defensively, aside from a couple of penalties that extended some drives, I thought we did an amazing job against those guys. So again, all in all, great team win. First quarter, started out a little bit slow on offense, but defense stood tall and kept those guys out of the end zone. And we were able to go from a 7-0 lead to a comfortable 17-0 lead at halftime.
Coach, and speaking of that 17-point halftime lead, in the second quarter, you were able to give Bethune-Cookman 10. Take us into those scoring drives and what that experience was like.
Well, the one drive was I think we went on a 90-yard drive or something like that. So that's always a huge deal whenever you can take the ball from backed up and methodically move it all the way down the field and score a touchdown. And so again, a testament to the offensive line, for playing solid. Jeremy in his first game back, moving the ball, distributing in the right places. My receivers making plays, our tight ends, and even running backs running hard. So it took a team effort, but I think twice in the game we were able to have drives that were longer than 90 yards. And again, that's kind of demoralizing for a defense when the team can take the ball and move the length of the field. And so we're able to get that drive, and then we're able to get a field goal out of that. And I'm a little bit of a historian. But I don't know the last time FAMU, if it's ever happened, had a field goal kicker go through an entire season without missing a kick. We had the 2 blocked against Jackson State, but every kick that got off, he's made it this season. So great to be able to put another one through the uprights, a 44-yarder for Cam Gillis, and gave us a 17-0 lead again at halftime that those guys can bounce back from.
Coach, halftime at HBCU games is special when you think about the Battle of the Bands. And when you think about the Florida Classic, obviously 2 of the best bands in the land. When you look at the Marching 100, take us into the halftime show a little bit. And obviously, you guys go back in for intermission, and it's X's and O's, and then you come out and you're able to see a little bit of the Battle of the Bands. But take us into your thought process of the halftime show and what you were able to see.
Well, one of the things that I'm always secretly praying for is that we have a comfortable enough lead at the half that I don't have to spend a lot of time in the locker room. So being up 17-0, really just talk to the guys about the mental approach we needed to take coming out of the second half, knowing that they wouldn't quit. And once we were able to do that, make a couple of adjustments, I came out and tried to enjoy the 100, putting on a show. So I got to see about the last 5 minutes of the show. Again, always great to see those guys perform. The best band in the land, just did an amazing job, and it was a blessing to see those guys on the field. I was a little bit worried. They kind of went over their allotment, but I think it's because the other band went over theirs, so it forced us to go over ours a little bit. But thankfully, the officials were gracious enough to let it slide, and we got a chance to watch the March 100 finish up their routine. But I know the fans really enjoyed it, and it's the reason why they're known as America's Band.
Coach, in the third quarter, Bethune-Cookman, they wouldn't go away, and they were able to get one from inside the red zone, a running touchdown. Take us into that and your takeaways. And again, teams compete, and it is a Florida Classic.
Well, that drive was a product of a lot of self-inflicted wounds on our part. A few times yesterday in the game, we allowed them to extend drives because of penalties. I think we had 6 the other night. 4 of them were offsides penalties, which are totally unacceptable. And I think 2 were pass interferences in the end zone. And so both times it allowed them to spot the ball at the 2-yard line. Both times our defense stood up, got them the third down. Just the last time they ended up running a quarterback draw, or the quarterback scrambled and was able to run it in. But I thought our defense played hard. They competed, held those guys to under 300 yards of total offense. Gave up the 1 touchdown, but all in all, I thought they really, really did a great job. But again, you take away the penalties, and it's a totally different outcome for the defense. I think they pitch a shutout and maybe hold those guys under 200 total yards.
Fourth quarter, Terrell Jennings able to seal the deal, if you will, with a 35-yard run. Take us into that and your takeaways of that particular play, the production, and again, getting it done the FAMU way.
Well, I thought after they scored a touchdown to cut the lead to 17-7, we really needed to respond. And so being able to come out and have a 35-yard touchdown run, really sealed the game. And that, again, that's demoralizing for a defense, for a team, when you think you have a chance to possibly get back in it, but then you give up an explosive play on a run. And so, again, kudos to Terrell, the offensive line, did a great job. Terrell got one-on-one with the safety, was able to stiff arm him and get in the end zone. And it was a great feeling for us to know that we kind of, at that point, you kind of felt the game was winding down and wrapping up. So, again, it was a big-time play by Terrell. And, again, just an amazing feeling to get another Florida Classic win and continue to carry momentum going into the championship game.
Coach, Moose was back. Talk about 14 of 21 for 150. Take us into his day back at the office, so to speak, and a guy like that who has all of the attributes to be successful.
Yeah, Moose played a solid game. Should have had a couple of touchdowns there early that, got tackled inside the 5. So our receivers, I know our running backs are very gracious and appreciative that our receivers and tight ends sometimes can't find a way to get into the end zone when it's right there in front of them. A few times this year, the running backs have gotten in on the next play. So, he could have had a couple of touchdowns there early. But I thought he threw the ball fairly well. First game back, missed the whole week. And we've been smart with him, or tried to be smart with him as far as how much he practiced. And so you saw a little bit of the rust, but I thought he slowly started to knock it off and was able to do enough for us to win. We pulled him there late. Again, felt the game was out of reach. If we needed to play him more, we would have. But again, felt that our defense was playing really well. Felt the game was getting out of reach, and we were able to get Junior Meritovic some more snaps. But again, I think he's excuse me. I think Moose is getting back closer to 100%. And hopefully by the time we take the field on December 2nd, he will be 100%, and you'll see the type of stellar play that probably has him as a front runner for Swac Offensive Player of the Year.
Coach, the Florida Classic has all the bells and whistles. It's almost like the Super Bowl, if you will, of Florida college football when you look at just the experience of the HBCUs, from the tailgate, the marching bands. You can smell the barbecue in the air, the cars, the people. I mean, it has everything. Many people are excited about what's happening inside Camping World Stadium. And then there's a plethora of people outside of the stadium. But just take us into the Florida Classic, and again, why it's so symbolic, the pageantry, family event, all ages, from vendors to barbecue to football. I mean, it's very special.
Well, it's dubbed the world's largest family reunion for a reason. And you're talking about 56,000 people in the stadium, probably another 20,000 outside the stadium, just enjoying the festivities, the tailgating, and all the things that surround the football game. So it's a phenomenal event where you see, alum and fans and followers of two prominent HBCUs. It's an amazing thing, and it's a game that's been around for a very long time. Two programs that have been highly successful in football, and just a game that everyone looks forward to. And there's some annual classic games out there. You got the Bayou Classic, the Magic City Classic, some of those games. But I'd be hard pressed to think that there's a game that that's as robust as the Florida Classic. It's just an amazing atmosphere and environment, and it's definitely been a blessing to be a part of it these years. And now I'm glad to finally have our own little streak going there now after 9 years of purgatory.
Coach, to have that three-peat, to know that you have those three trophies, how special is it to walk past those and look over and see what you guys have been able to do, looking to go into possibly 4 next season?
Well, obviously, again, we all know, kind of how gloom this place was for 9 years, having lost that game. And so now that we're 3 games up now and, turning the tide, I think it's back to 500 since it got moved to Orlando. It's, everyone feels good. And I know Rattler Nation was fired up. We're fired up to be hosting the championship game, obviously, but it just brings an added amount of momentum and joy, to the game. And so just blessed again to be able to have a team that can get the job done. We've done so 10 times this year, and one of the best seasons here at Famu in some time. And but it's a testament to these players, to this coaching staff, support staff, our alumni, our administration, everyone who has a hand in this thing. It's just truly a blessing to lead this program. And work's not done. Obviously, we're excited about the Florida Classic win. We're excited about the ability to host the Swac Championship, but we know there's a lot of work ahead, and we're looking forward to hitting the field again to get back to work.
Coach, the SWAC championship, you look at Florida A&M, and then you look at Prairie View A&M out of Texas, a program you're very familiar with. Bubba and the guys will come in, and 2 teams will be looking to win a football game with reservations for 1 ball club to advance to Atlanta and represent the SWAC. Just talk a little bit about the thought process going in, and obviously it's 2 weeks out, but between now and then, it's all about the SWAC championship.
Yeah, no question. That's, like I said the other day, we've checked all the boxes of the goals that we've set for ourselves so far this season. And this is the next one. And so our approach stays the same. We don't really change our process. We don't change our practice schedule and how we do things because it's a championship game. It's the next one up. We're blessed to have number 12. Everybody's guaranteed 11. We're blessed to be able to play number 12 with the opportunity to win and play a 13. And so we're going to continue to do the things that we've done, continue to focus on the little things, the details, and continue to work to get better. This is a team, it's championship football now. So, excuse me, you can throw what happened home coming out the window. You can throw records out the window, same thing. You know, it's going to be the team that prepares the best, that's able to come in and play their best ball, that can eliminate mistakes and make the plays that need to be made. That's going to have the best chance to win the game. And our job as a coaching staff is to prepare our guys to do that. My ultimate job as a head coach is to make sure that we have a solid plan in all three phases, that we practice appropriately, you know, and make sure that our guys don't take this team for granted. You know, we got to show them we're a mature football team, that we can understand that this is the next game. It's the biggest game of our lives, the most important game of our lives, because it's the next one we get to play. And we're going to approach it that way and be thankful for the opportunity. And so I look forward to the work, the week of preparation, this week and next week. You know, we talk about process here. So not really thinking about the game. Our job is to prepare ourselves for the next time we hit the practice field to be our very best. And then extend that to the meeting room, to the training room, the weight room, the classroom, you know, all the rooms that we have to participate in, make sure that we go and win all those, because winning is a habit, and we want to make sure that we develop habits of winning in everything that we do.
Coach, moving forward, when you look over at the MEAC, and obviously you're familiar with the MEAC having a past over there with FAMU, but when we look at Howard University and we see what Coach Scott is able to build as he has been there for a few years, getting that program to the mountaintop, if you will, of the MEAC. When you look at Howard's Bison, what do you see so far?
Well, obviously, I hadn't really paid much attention to Howard. You know, we got to take care of business here first before we transition to the MEAC. But just being a part of the conference for my first 2 years and knowing the long history there, I did have a chance to watch them early in the season against North Carolina Central on television. The thing that jumps out, obviously, is their ability to run the football. You know, they have some talented running backs. They've been pretty prolific running the ball. So we definitely have to be ready for that when that time comes. But again, at the end of the day, we got to make sure that time does come, and that's by taking care of business. You know, in 2 weeks for the Swac championship. So nothing's guaranteed. You know, I know everyone's already booked their reservations for Atlanta and the hotels and all that stuff, and that's great. But our football team can't take that approach. You know, we still have work to do. Again, we always talk about being where our feet are. Our feet are in our preparation for the Swac championship game. That's all that matters at this point. We take care of business there, then we'll shift our focus to Howard. We've been in the same situation. We'll have 2 weeks to prepare, and so we'll take the same approach that week when the time comes as we're taking this week, as far as preparing, but knowing that there's no game this coming weekend. So we'll keep the main thing, take care of business, and then, you know, let's have this conversation again in 2 weeks, and then we can talk about Howard.
Coach, when you look at Central, North Carolina Central, and what Trey Oliver has been able to do something special, and the young men in that program, obviously winning at the highest level, and then opportunities for playoffs. But just take us into your thoughts of Central and what they've been able to do over the last few years.
Well, you know, Coach Oliver's done an amazing job there. You know, he's built that program to be one of the best in all of FCS, not just HBCU. And so I think with his resume this year, is a no-brainer. Not only did they beat, you know, a ranked team, ranked Elon team at the time, you know, they also have 3 wins from the Colonial Conference, which is one of the best conferences in all of FCS. And so when you can boast that, along with 9 wins, I think all 9 being FCS wins, it was a no-brainer for the committee to select them, you know. And so I like their chances, you know, really pulling for Coach Oliver. And, you know, it's been what, 45 years since FAMU made history and winning the first ever 1AA or FCS national championship, you know. And it's about time that another one gets that shot, you know. I think Coach Oliver's built the team up that has as good an opportunity as any. And so we're definitely pulling for him. And I'll be watching this weekend. Obviously, we don't have a game, and hopefully, again, he can pull it off and advance to the second round.
Coach, is HBCU football in a good place overall?
Yeah, I think it's in a great place. I think there's some great coaches in these conferences. There's some great players. I really feel there'll be a plethora of NFL guys potentially from the HBCU ranks this year. Obviously there are a lot of them doing great things right now. Marquise Bell, one of us led the Cowboys in tackling, again. So he's doing an amazing job. Isaiah Land's doing great. James Houston was hurt this year, but had a great rookie year. Jacoby Durant, starting with the Rams, and the list goes on and on. So I think the word is definitely getting out that these are some really good players at these schools, and if the traffic through here is indicative, it'll continue. Every day we get here, we're blessed to see an NFL scout come in here and evaluating our guys. And that's what it's all about. You want to give those guys every opportunity to accomplish their ultimate goal of playing in the NFL. And so I think the same can be said about the other top programs in the HBCU ranks. And so, yeah, I think the HBCU football is in a great place. I think the Swac's on great footing. I think Commissioner Steele has a plan for the MEAC. It'll be interesting to see, how they move forward. But of the 21 Division I football teams, I think we're all making strides, and that's what you want to see. I think the giving is going up. The administrations are starting to understand. The one thing I am seeing that I necessarily don't like is that I think some of us are starting to pull the trigger a little bit too quickly on some coaches. I'm not going to speak much on it, but I think we got to be careful when we start trying to operate like FBS programs in that regard. I think they have the ability to pay out coaches, and then buy out a contract because they pretty much have everything else that they may need. But a lot of our programs are bleeding for facilities and resources, and the money that's been used to pay off a coach's contract, unless it's for something that they got terminated with cause, which in that case they're not paying off a contract, I think those funds could be utilized for the young men in the program. So, I think that's the only thing that we got to be conscious of moving forward. But I'm optimistic about the direction of Division I, of HBCU football, not just Division I, but Division II as well, because you got programs like Benedict, some of those places going into the playoffs this week with a great shot. I'm really interested to see what Benedict can do in the Division II playoffs this year.
Coach, the transfer portal, it's been around for a few years now. From your thought process, what does that look like? And how intriguing and how has that changed the game, so to speak, when we think about the transfer portal, whereas student athletes decide they want to go in another direction and go to another school? When you look at transfer portals, what do you see?
Well, I see a gift and a curse, to be honest. The ability to transfer has always been there. It's just been a lot more restrictive than it is now. Back when I played and up until recently, the only way you can transfer and play immediately is if you were transferring what they call down a level. So going from FBS to FCS or FCS to Division II, or if there was some type of extreme circumstance of family sickness or something like that caused someone to have the need to get closer to home. So it's always been around. It just wasn't as vast and open as it is today. And so, yeah, I think programs can really benefit from the transfer portal. Even us, for example, we've benefited tremendously. When you look at guys like Jeremy Musa and Jalen Goss and, Marcus Riley, Jaquez Yant, Kevin Dean. I mean, we've signed a ton of transfers the last few years. And a lot of those guys, Anthony Dunn, are having phenomenal seasons and careers for us. So it's been good in that regard, and we'll continue to utilize it. But I think when you look at the sheer number of young men and women, because it's not just a football problem, I think it's an overall NCAA problem when you look at the number of transfers who don't end up signing elsewhere. And so they're kind of left out there in the cold without an opportunity to, one, get the school paid for, play the sport that they love to play. And so I think they made it where it's so easy to get into the portal that you don't really have to get the advice. Back in the day, you'd have to go talk to your coach and really have a sit-down conversation with them and, see the coach's vision for you. And if you decided that vision wasn't what you wanted, then you left. I vividly remember, back in the spring of 2003, when I decided to transfer from Clemson, I mean, Coach Bowden and I probably had 5 conversations during that spring semester about the plan for the program, their plans for me, And when I left, we were all on the same page, so it wasn't anything, negative about that situation surrounding those circumstances. But now in that same situation, a young man or young woman could just jump in the portal without talking to the coach. And so the question is always, well, where are they getting their advice? If they're not talking to the coach who brought them there and recruited them, who are they getting their advice from? Is it their parents? Is it their high school coach, the AAU coach, 707, some street agent? Like, who are they getting advised by? And I think that's why you see so many casualties and horror stories about student athletes in the transfer portal. So I think we just got to be careful. I don't think the NCAA will do anything to make it restrictive again. I think they're going to continue to allow student athletes to transfer at least one time. But I do think now that we have some empirical data to be able to look at, I do think that there needs to be some conversations had from that level about what's happening to a lot of the student athletes. And unfortunately, a lot of them look like you and me that are out there in the cold. And so that's one thing I don't want to see. I don't want to see young people lose out on an opportunity to get an education for free, come out of school without debt, and all those things because they're just allowed to transfer. And again, I know we want to continue to give them their rights, but we still got to advise them and make sure they're making wise financial decisions, educational decisions, and doing the right things for their futures.
Coach, another avenue that has changed the game, so to speak, is the NIL and that concept over the last few years. When you think about that conversation and NIL, what goes through your mind?
Chaos. NIL is an interesting this is just interesting. I can't even get my words together. Again, love the opportunity, love the opportunity for young men and women to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. I would have loved to have been able to get, a free meal for signing an autograph back when I played, or get compensated for my jerseys being sold in stores, like they were back in 2002. So the idea is there. I think the concept is great. But again, like anything else, when there's no regulation, problems are abound. And so it's just one of those things where you have NCAA rules and regulations, state rules, federal rules, and they're all different. Each state has different rules and laws and about NIL. The NCAA has an idea of what they want it to look like, but they're not willing to pass some type of uniform law, national federal law, because now you're talking about, again, everybody having to fall under the same umbrella, and now the chance of being sued and mitigation and all those things are out there. So it's just again, man, the landscape of college athletics is changing tremendously fast, and it's changing faster than a lot of us are able to keep up with. And I'm not talking about the fans, I'm not talking about the players, not even talking about the coaches. I think the decision makers are having a hard time trying to corral all of these new developments. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens over the next couple of years, because just like I said about the transfer portal, conceptually, yes, it's a great thing, but you have to find a way to regulate it or it's chaos. And right now, I don't know NIL is regulated enough. It's a free for all. So we'll see what happens, and not affecting this level as much as the quote unquote Power 5 schools, but we do deal with it, and I think there needs to be some education across the board as to how to best service our student athletes, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We want to do what's right by our student athletes and give them opportunities to be successful. And if being able to put some money in their pocket is the way to do that, let's do it, but let's do it the right way so that it's not being abused, it's not becoming a distraction, and it's not taking away the essence of amateurism in major college athletics.
Coach, on the recruiting trails, when you look at some of the high school athletes who are looking to go on to play intercollegiate football and get an education and earn a degree, how has that situation changed, and how does high school athletes, how do they fit in this current landscape, if you will, of intercollegiate athletics?
Well, it's a trying time for high school prospective student athletes. A lot of people attribute it to the transfer portal, but the reality of it is it's a combination of the transfer portal and COVID. One of the I guess you can call it benefits to COVID. If there were many, there weren't many, but one of the benefits was the ability for student athletes to get potentially an extra year of college of eligibility. And so when you look at it, you got student athletes who are in their 6th year of school, where they would have been graduated and moved on had it not been for COVID. And so that's hundreds on hundreds of student athletes who are still in school who otherwise wouldn't be. So that's hundreds of scholarships that are taken that would otherwise be available. And so because of that, that's taken away from the high school recruiting. When you look at it, from a coach's perspective, if you have a chance to bring a guy back for a 6th year who's been a starter, who's been in your program, do you do that, or do you let that young man or woman move on and go and sign a high schooler who's 18 and who's never been to college? Well, most of them would choose to bring back that 6th-year player. Even if they're not starting, it provides quality depth. They've been in the program, they're already graduated, so the academic load isn't as heavy. And so a lot of those factors are weighing in the decision to not recruit as many high school student athletes. That will be the case for, I think, another year. This senior class, I think, well, next year's senior class will be the last class that can take advantage of the COVID waiver. After that, I think it starts to balance itself back out. Because at the end of the day, every school is still going to get the same allotment of scholarships. So now at that point, it's just about scholarship allocation. So if FAMU, for example, is going to sign 30 individuals in a given year, if we decide to take 15 transfers and 15 high school kids, well, those 15 scholarships that I had for transfers, somebody else just gets to use it for theirs, and so it's going to still balance out. There'll still be a large pool of transfers that aren't signed, but there'll be a large pool of high school student athletes that aren't signed. But I think it'll start to slowly shift back towards the old model of high school recruiting once the super seniors, so to speak, cycle out. But until then, it's going to make it very difficult for high school prospective student athletes. And that's why I try to tell them every chance I get to make sure they check all the boxes. You have to make yourself recruitable. If there's anything that raises a red flag, chances are a coach is going to go into the portal. And that's football, basketball, baseball, tennis, golf, soccer, you name it. If you don't check the boxes, you're really decreasing your chances to be recruited. So get your schoolwork done, stay off social media, posting crazy stuff, be respectful, be a good student athlete, and be the type of young man or woman that a coach wants to sign. That's always my message. If you do that, I think most people still want to build their programs the right way. High school recruiting is still the best way to build a consistent program, because you're not having turnover every single year and having to keep, just replacing those individuals that you're losing. So that's kind of my philosophy. Everyone may not share that philosophy, but I do think it's going to slowly start to shift back to coaches across the country starting to look closer at high school prospective student athletes.
Coach, when you look at the community college ranks and the JUCO student athletes, and there's gentlemen there who are, say, maybe 20 years old, and they're a couple years into the intercollegiate athletic experience, and now they're ready to move on. How do they fit into the equation, and are they a good pool of student athletes?
Well, for us, and again, I know everyone has a different philosophy. We don't separate it between high school, junior college, and four-year transfer. We really look at high school and transfers, because coming from a 2-year college, you're still technically a transfer. Now, you don't abide by the same transfer rules, because it's not Division I to Division I or Division II to Division I, but they're still considered a transfer. So they have to meet private source degree requirements. You do want to get them in school as quickly as possible. And so you look at them the same way as you look at a 4-year transfer from that regard. You know, a 4-year transfer, the only difference is with junior college, whether they were qualified or non-qualified, changes their eligibility rules. And so if you were a non-qualified coming out of high school and you're at a 2-year college, you have to have your AA degree, you have to meet your progress towards degree, and you have to have a 2.5 GPA. You know, that's the requirements for 2-year transfers, junior college, community college transfers who were not full qualifiers coming out of high school. Whereas if you were qualified, you're coming from a 4-year, you just have to be eligible at your previous institution and then meet your progress towards degree requirements before the next competing season. And so that's probably the biggest difference. You know, there's some academic challenges there that some junior colleges pose when you're looking at whether they're going to be eligible or not. But yeah, we look at it the same way. You know, if they're a qualifier, if we watch their film and we like them, we don't put them in a different category than say a guy from Florida State or University of Alabama that's transferring here. We're going to take the one that we think fits our program best, and we've had success with both. Isaiah Major, All-American linebacker, potential All-American linebacker, is a junior college transfer. And we have other guys as well who come from the junior college ranks. So we have a mixture of all high school, junior college, and 4-year transfers. And I think they've all meshed well together here to get us to where we are today.
Coach, in closing, are there any final comments you would make as we think about moving forward from the Florida Classic? And again, there's a great opportunity on December 2nd.
Well, on closing thoughts is tickets go on sale to the general public on Wednesday, November 21st. So we definitely feel like this will be a homecoming type of feel. Looking forward to packing out, Bragg Memorial Stadium, and history is being made this year. This is our first time hosting a Swac championship game. First time in 25 years hosting a postseason game here in Tallahassee. And so we're very, very excited about the opportunity. And so we definitely look forward to Rattler Nation showing up in huge numbers, continuing to give us a great home field advantage. And we look forward to taking care of business and then allowing everyone who's made the reservations to Atlanta not have to eat crow and call and get a refund.
Well, folks, there you have it from the coach. He is Willie Simmons, a leader of men, a great gentleman, and obviously the head football coach of the Florida A&M University Rattlers. And he has a three-peat when you look at the Florida Classic, and they are moving forward to the Swac Championship. I'm James Hill. You're watching James Hill Sports, and we will be right back.